Hello, you're welcome. You're welcome onto my channel today, and it gives me great joy to observe you are viewing this video. I'm Professor Olayinka Akanle. I'm a lecturer in the university. On this channel, I do a number of stuff, but all I do on this channel, you can easily cluster them into four: sociology, research, relationship, and migration. Meanwhile, if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly go ahead and click subscribe on your screen right now. Tap subscribe on your screen right now to join my family of subscribers. And so that you might be alerted every time I drop new video that will be of benefit to you. Today, I want to continue my series on theories of urban sociology. Today, I want to be talking about Louis Wirth. So these theories or these sociologists contributed significantly to the development of urban sociology, and his ideas are taken to be those that are among the most influential in historical and contemporary studies of urban sociology. Welcome to Louis Wirth. This this was an American sociologist. He was an American sociologist and a member of the Chicago School. If you've been following my video on the theories of urban sociology, you will have heard about the Chicago School. This body of intellectuals actually contributed significantly to sociology in general and urban sociology in particular. So Louis Wirth is actually a prominent member of the Chicago School. Born in 1897, died in 1952. He made profound statements, profound contribution through his work on urbanism as a way of life. Today, if you study urban sociology or urbanization, you must have come across the concept or the idea of urbanism as a way of life. This was an idea that he pushed through his publication in 1938. There was an essay published, and that essay became so influential, phenomenal in shaping the direction of urban sociology at the time and today. It was at a period where urbanism was growing tremendously. Urbanization was growing at unprecedented rate, and people were trying to understand the behavioral pattern of people as communities become more urbanized. So, and you must understand, I have a video on this channel on best ways to understand theories. So I gave 5 specific ways. You can view that video on best ways to understand theory. And that's why I was given this, I'm giving the historical context within which Louis Wirth wrote. And if you look at when he was born in 1897 up to 1952, when he died, you will recognize that this was a period of tremendous urban growth with impact on human behavior. For urban sociology, we simply want to understand urban processes, urban structures, urban organization, and their implication of urban behavior, urban behavioral practices of urban dwellers. So, urbanism for Louis Wirth, it talks about urbanism as a form of social organization, urbanism as a belief and practices and behavioral pattern of urban dwellers, looking at the replacement of secondary mode of behavior, using secondary mode of behavior to replace what he called the primary mode of behavior. So cities become centers of secondary behavior, that is, behaviors that replace the traditional kinship practices, kinship frames, more enduring relations. For Louis Wirth, kinship formed the basis of primary relationship, interpersonal relationship. This is what, if you be following my work, you will have listened to my video on Emily Durkheim, mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity, or Ferdinand Stoney, James Sharp, and Jesse Sharp. By the way, let me remind you that in that video on Ferdinand Tonys, I mentioned the fact that Ferdinand Tonys was a pessimist in terms of urban growth. Emily Durkheim was a more optimistic person. Now, in the order of Ferdinand Tonys, Louis Wirth can also be categorized as a pessimist. So he had very pessimistic belief about urban growth, urban behavior, and urbanism. So he was a pessimist from that perspective, that he had very negative view of urban processes, of urban growth. He believed more in primary interaction, primary mode of social organization, because urbanism for Louis Wirth was considered as very harmful. Urbanism as a form of social organization was considered very harmful to society, to community in that time. That communities, as they become urbanized, become more harmful in the sense that relationship become more secondary, more transient. So cities become more secondary in their relationship, replacing the primary based on kinship network and more interpersonal contact. For Louis Wirth, cities was considered as centers of weakened bond of kinship, weakened bond of relationship, weakened cohesion, weakened sense of community, weakened bonds in context of kinship. So for urbanism, from the perspective of Louis Wirth, urbanism is considered as a weakening of bonds of kinship. When you take this as kinship being the primary most preferred mode of organization for Louis Wirth, you will understand why he was so pessimistic. So for Louis Wirth, the declining significance of the family, declining significance of the family and the kinship system was a major concern. Because for him, family formed the core of kinship system. And as urbanism continued to accentuate, kinship bond, family bond with bonds continue to decline. And this declining significance for him formed a major part of urbanism, which has become the ways of life of urban dwellers at its time. Until today, you can find the relevance of this, that this is even relevant today, even more relevant, that the more people, communities become urbanized, become the more people become urban dwellers, the more people move to urban centers, the more urbanism developed, which talks about the replacement of kinship system with social system, kinship networks for social network, and more enduring relationship for more transient relationship. And if you talk about the disappearance of neighborhood also, strong neighborhoods begin to disappear. And transient one, the sense of community, the sense of neighborliness, the sense of being your brothers or sisters keeper, is replaced with that which is very transient. And for Louis Wirth, there was the undermining of enduring social contact, undermining of enduring social contact, and replacement of enduring social contact with that transient and ephemeral. So urbanism for Louis Wirth is seen as a demonstration of individualistic, personalized, more selfish, more self-centered, less enduring social relations. And there are five major features or characteristics of urbanism. And these five I will mention in quick succession. Number one is population heterogeneity. As societies become more urbanized, the population become heterogenized and become more heterogeneous. People have come from different backgrounds. The population moved from homogeneity in traditional society, in kinship society, to that which is more heterogeneous. Different ethnic groups, religious groups, educational groups, gender, and the rest of them. Then they are specialized. You have specialization of function, increasing division of labor, specialization of social relations. Then you have anonymity, facelessness, people become anonymous. And this is understandable because as societies become mega, now you talk about mega cities, smart city, resilient cities, and cities become more mega, more heterogeneous, then so you have more increasing division of labor, specialization of functions, and people become faceless. Facelessness, anonymous relationship, become more evident. Then you have also, impersonality. People become less personal, and you have the standardization of life and behavior. Behaviors become more standardized, and people become more formal in this system. These are elements of urbanism. Talk about size. The size of cities become bigger. The density becomes more serious and complex. Population become more heterogeneous in cities, and you have weakened social interactions. The social interactions becomes weakened, And this leads to more individualistic, impersonal, transient urban lifestyle. You have transitory urban lifestyles. People become more transactional, people become more transitory, and people become less interested in the other person. And this, for Louis Wirth, is harmful because it breeds less social cohesion, breeds less social order, breeds more problematic urban systems. For Louis Wirth, if you apply it today, this is where we have more problems in urban centers. This is where you have less unity. This is where you have more crime. This is where you have more destitution. This is where you have more climate change because of all of this and the problems associated with climate change. So adapting reward to what we have today, you can find some relevance because eh, of the weakened system. So I'm not supporting reward. I'm just to teach what he has said. So it's now left to you as a learner or as a professional to be able to apply as you want. Don't forget I mentioned that all these theories theorize within a particular historically specific period. They were explaining their experiences then. So we can adapt some of their thoughts to what we experience today in the 21st century and beyond, but they may not be totally correct in the face of what we face today. You might find some of their arguments correct and applicable, and if you find it applicable totally to what you are studying, fine. If not sufficiently, you can triangulate with other theories. So for the world, so urban social structure creates less, you know, orderly, less stable society, less cohesive society. So urban social structure creates more individuality and less traditionality. So traditional systems are weakened in cities and it creates an urban personality. Personality that is very, very individualistic and personalities that cares less about community but about self. So urban personality from the perspective of the world is one that is totally different from rural or traditional personality. It's one that is based on rationality, is one that is based on personal orientation to things rather than community orientation to things. And this also creates conflict of norms, normlessness, conflict of norms because norms, people don't share the same ideas of norms. Norms supposed to bind the group together, but norms become weakened and norms becomes redefined based on rational mindset of every member of the urban society. So conflict of norms and less social order and less cohesion. And this is for Louis Wirth, this actually will create problem, a lot of disorder in urban society once urbanism becomes a way of life. For Louis Wirth, as a matter of fact, the culture of urban centers become urbanized, and urbanism as a consciousness, as a philosophy, as a way of life, as social structure, as social organization, portends danger for the sense of community. But if somebody has a mind of urban orientation or urban personality, this may be seen as not entirely true, but this is the perspective. Urbanism as a social structure, urbanism as a social organization that determines human relationship in cities. And this is what the consequences and the processes, these are actually what we want us to see as it was in its own time and as we can apply in today. So, but there's this perspective, this theory has actually experienced, has witnessed a lot of criticism. But I believe there are strengths even still in this urbanism, as a way of life. For me, it was a pioneering. It opened doors. When the essay was published in 1938, it opened a new total way, a new vista in understanding urban behavior and urban processes and urbanization and urban challenges as cities started to grow. A major contribution from the Chicago School once again. So it was a pioneering idea and theory of urban sociology. Gave a new direction to urban sociology at that point in time. And that's why I believe it's still good for us to teach this today, whether as an entry point or as a point of analysis. He also introduced key variables, like I told you in the features earlier, key variables that we can look at and recognition of social diversity. The fact that social structures, social organizations are also very diverse in terms of heterogeneity that he introduced and gave us a framework for understanding social organizations of cities. But he faced a lot of criticism in the fact that is considered too pessimistic. So urban sociologists and many scholars of urbanization believe that the theory actually is too pessimistic, and there's some optimism in urban processes and urban growth. They also give an idea of social determinism, that the social structure or social organization determines everything in city. And this idea of social determinism is not entirely correct. And the theory neglects the rise and the importance and existence of urban subcultures. Well, there's no dominant culture in cities. There are also some urban subcultures. Some cultures still depends on kinship system. Some subcultures, even in cities, still depends on a kinship system. And like I said in previous videos, you have some element of traditionality in cities, even though you have urbanism at the same time. You have some traditional mindset and personality, even in cities. So it's not a binary at the same time. Also, it's too pessimistic and it's too simplistic. Cities are also complex, complicated, more complicated than simplistic approach that we mentioned. Fantastic. Please subscribe on your screen right now. Till I see you in my next video. Bye for now.